To order on November 27th, beginning at 9:08 a.m. Machine is open for roll call. He'll verbal. Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You want to say a prayer, Mr. John? Let the Lord lead us today.
Need help? Everybody down?
We have an agenda in front of us, and I'm hoping that we can stick to the agenda. That's the plan, unless y'all want to go any other way. I'm going to turn it over to Tommy now, and he can kind of lead.
Okay. What we do is discuss the agenda. Kim, can you bring it up on the screen, please? I think you all have an agenda.
Be good today. Very good.
Please silence your cell phones.
What we're doing wrong, so we know.
You took care of Clara yet? You took care of Clara
It was
yet?
on there, it was green. Oh, you don't, okay.
And I brought it up on the screen too. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay. Basically, this is just an agenda I put together to for us, something for us to follow. It's up to y'all which direction y'all want to go in. If you don't want to follow this, it's fine. You know, we could jump around. Whatever y'all want to do, it's up to y'all. This is just something for us to get started. Basically, I was thinking to do the budget message, look at the budget message first, with the president, and then the fund balance summary. Look at the revenues first, because I think this is the most important thing, the oil and gas review. Scott should be here in a minute, because we really need to set that, look at that first before we do anything else, to see where we stand, what we need to, if we need to cut, or what we're going to do with that. Go through manpower, capital improvement budget, and the long-term debt. Then special departments, which are like the departments that we all know we cut each year, which is the YMCA and the
Care Center.
community programs, and the
Home and economics.
right, because the council on aging is in this budget. We left that in.
Pause needs to be looked at too.
The district attorney, the elected officials said that they didn't really plan on coming unless, y'all wanted them to come. They will. I put them on the schedule, but if we, if we see that we think we need them, we'll give them a call. So I put the district attorney on there because she'd be available today. The rest of the day, we'll just be going through departments. It depends on what y'all want to do. Now, I scheduled all these supervisors to come in today after lunch. If y'all want the supervisors to come in, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. I mean, I don't know what benefits it's going to be. If y'all think they need to be here, we can definitely have them in each one of them like we did last year. Or we could just, if y'all have any questions, as we go through the departments, y'all can ask the directors. It's up to y'all, whatever y'all decide to do.
Has all the supervisors provided y'all with what they're requesting?
Yes, but they want to speak.
Okay.
That's, and if y'all don't want to bring them all in, we can do that, and we could just, as we go through them, it's up to y'all. We'll do it as when we get there, we'll cross that bridge.
Scott's here.
That's here.
Okay, that's pretty much, I went into all the way through Wednesday and Thursday if necessary. So what Kim's going to do is advertise, and she's already done that for the end of today. In case we finish today, we didn't know. Advertise to do a special meeting so that y'all can vote on the budget when this is over with. So we won't have to wait until the last meeting in December. Well, the only meeting in December. So it makes it easier that way. After y'all decide on what y'all want to do, then we just vote on it, it'll be a done deal. So she'll advertise again if we go into tomorrow, she'll advertise again for tomorrow, after tomorrow's budget hearings are finished. Okay, so that's pretty much the agenda. Anybody has any questions, anything like that, or they want to go a different direction, we'll get started. Okay, the first thing is to look at the fund balance reports. If you turn to the white tab, first white tab, summary by year, fund summary.
I'm gonna give you mine.
You look at the general fund column. These numbers have been updated through the November 8th, 2018 council meeting. In the book, the report that you had previous was only through the council meeting before we presented the book. So this is up to date, taking the 2019 numbers into consideration. If you go down to the designated row, we can go through the designations. Infrastructure, 168,000. And I have details on this too. If you want to go to the details in the back, just stop me and tell me. We can move on from there. Emergencies, 3,293,968, or not 965. I'm sorry. Self-insurance, 3,050,000. Bond indebtedness, 8,765,576. This number is just like we've been doing, 1 year's bond payment to pay all bond payments. The BP settlement in this book, 3,852,896. I think we need to go back to that one and look at the details on that one, so I can show you how we got to that number. If you go to the tab that says fund balance designations, it's a pink tab. And turn to the gray page. Gray. If you look at the 2018 current budget, where we stand right now with the fund balances you've been getting at each council meeting, the balance in there is $3,052,895.75. The 2019 proposed budget proposes the revenues of $5 million we should be receiving based on the settlement, and transferring $4.2 million to the general fund, unreserved and designated, to help balance this budget, leaving you $3,852,895.75. Any questions on that? Yes, ma'am.
Anticipated date of that 5 million.
October, usually comes in October.
So we've received all of the.
Yes, ma'am.
We were-
In 2018, we have. Okay, so if we go back to the fund balance report. The only two other fund balances on there, designations, are the one for FEMA projects that we've been on there for years, waiting for everything to be closed out. And then the FEMA revenue, which is the one that we, it's been there, like I said, it's been there for years since it's due to Isaac. So basically, you're starting out with a fund balance of $290,946. That's your unreserved, undesignated fund balance that we're starting out with right now. Any amendments you do with this at the table, if you just decide to decrease or increase any revenues, that's going to adjust that number, up or down. So any amendments, we decide to do. How do you want to do the amendments this year? I mean, last year, we pretty much kept track of them, and at the end, y'all voted on all of them. You want to keep doing it that way? Because otherwise, you'd have to stop in between and vote every time. Okay, we'll just do it that way. We'll just keep track of anything y'all want amendments on, just tell us. Now, we do have a few amendments that are written up that people ask us for already, so we can go through those after, as we get to the departments. The next thing I had on the agenda, I had the budget message. Mr. Cormier, want to elaborate on that any? It's up to him.
I think it's drafted that budget message with the help of our financial officer, Mr. Serpaz, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
No, we'll see when we get to it. Okay, the next thing we can go to is the oil and gas review. I got Scott Elston here. Now ask him to come on up.
I'm gonna move out the way.
Just scoot over. You got a chair.
You got a chair?
Yeah, okay. Give it to Cashier.
You trapped.
Okay, what we can do is we can go to the oil and gas report in the back of the book, supplemental information. You go to the gray page.
I need to get one of those, actually. I'm going to get one of those from her. So
Oh, that? Yeah.
Line up. Oh, you got one?
What's the tab?
That needs to be handed out?
That's the same thing she's doing.
Okay.
Gail, if you don't have enough, I have some more here.
Yeah, mine.
Let's see what WTF has.
There we are.
Okay, everybody's at that page? No? If you look at the last column, the
Thank you.
orange column, you can see the price per barrel. It says $79 a barrel. And the price per MCF, $3.23 per MCF. This gives you a revenue of $17,061,200. That's in this budget now, based on $79 a barrel. I can turn it over to Scott now, and he can talk to you about the production and go through the price as well.
All right. I prepared this chart. Some of y'all have probably seen this. I add to this chart, it gives a good handle of the oil production of the parish and the gas production. The top is the oil, of course, and the middle chart, the second chart down is the gas. As you can see, we've had very sharp decline in production for the parish. If you look in the middle, if you covered up both ends of the top chart, there's a good average of probably 15,000 barrels a month. Now, if you look at the end of the chart, it's probably half that now, production to the parish. Of course, you see the big blue part, that's Hillcore, your number one producer. They produce from about 4 or 5 fields, larger fields in the parish. That's your main source of income from that operator. And in the last, from October 2017 to now, you're seeing about half of the production from what you've seen from 2012 to 2016, unfortunately. What I do every time, when I meet here is I check with the Louisiana Department of Revenue. The Revenue Estimating Committee is meeting actually today to readjust their budget. Their budget is based right now at $59.42. My source over there has told me 3 days ago that they are going to up their budget no greater than $65 a barrel. So I'll find out that this afternoon. And the other main source that I kind of align myself is the EIA, which is the Energy Information Administration, which is the federal administration. And I have these notes down at the bottom, so it's down there. The EIA short-term energy outlook is based today or this week. They update their numbers like every other week at $71.92. So you kind of have a range there of the state at 65 and the federal oil barrel at 72 or 70, 72, 71.92. So there's kind of a range there. Your baseline for our budget is at 79, and that's $17 million. So there's your baseline. And what I typically do is get that information from the state and EIA and other sources and make a budget for the parish and submit that. So there's a range there. I think to gauge that, for every dollar that you reduce or increase the price of what our baseline is at 79 is $211,000.
Yes.
$211,000. So you can kind of gauge that from the baseline at 79. You decrease that to 78, you're going to decrease the budget $211,000. So that's typically a larger range than normal. So what happens is when I'm preparing this information, and this was at the beginning of October, the price of oil was almost at $80. It was in the high 70s. So between then and now, we're at $52. $52 is the West Texas Intermediate today.
Look at the price of it.
52 something.
Right. Well, 58.96, I just looked on the EIA. Well, you looked today.
Today.
Okay.
So it's in the low 50s. So I give you that range, and I think I think that the council can decide on the price, on the barrel price between maybe that range, or if you want to keep it the same, we can tell you quickly. Do they have that page? Which is
No, I
behind
have a
us?
chart. I have a chart I'm gonna bring up on the screen that'll show whatever you set the price at, how much we'd have to decrease the budget. Now, what I have up on the screen right now is showing you the average prices throughout the year. Down at the bottom, I try to keep up with this every day. Some days I miss, but I pretty much have every day on here. It shows you what the prices were starting in April, $69 a barrel, and then $74 a barrel, $74, and it kind of stayed consistent. It went up to $77, $78 in October. You can see when we did this budget, the budget was on the first days of October was in the 80s and 79. It didn't start dropping until the end of October when we had presented this budget to you already. And you can look in November. I don't have all the days in November, but you can see where it started at $73 and now as $58. And as Scott said today, it's even lower than that.
Yeah,
So-
WTI is at 51.95 right now, 52.
I mean, the way we usually do this between Scott and I is we look at the average for the year, instead of kind of trying to chase your tail with, where are we right now? We could set it, where we are right now. We try to look at the average for the year. And then he looks at his resources to see what they think is going to be next year.
So when you see West Texas Intermediate, that's the WTI in the paper or whatever, the parish crude quality is usually between the West Texas Intermediate and the Brent crude number. So Brent crude's usually higher. It's a higher grade oil that has less sulfur content in it. And And it's usually in between that, more so closer to Brent crude than West Texas Intermediate.
Now? Okay.
So it's in between that.
Charlie?
I just have a question. I'm looking at the graph. So the 79 that's budget, is that an average of the entire month's averaged up and then a total average? Because as I'm looking at this, I don't see any averages that even come close to $79 a barrel at the bottom.
Right. Well,
So where did that number come from?
this, as you can see, it's through July. So the end of the chart is at July. So really, that oil graph should be higher than that. We don't have the production for that yet. Oil is delayed. Like the oil checks and production that we're receiving today are 2.5 months behind. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
This
I'm
is only
looking
through
at the
July,
chart
so-
you have on the slide. I'm not looking at this. I'm looking at.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you're looking at this, you're looking at the averages right here.
Yeah, I'd say 79 is a little on the high side right now. Yeah.
So why did we choose that higher number if your sources in Baton Rouge are giving you low 70s and the average has been well below that?
Well, if you can see at the end of September, you're seeing 79s, 80, 83, 82, and into October, you're seeing 80, 81, 82. So we were at 79.
I see that, but I don't think 1 month should, right. I'm finished, but I think it's high. It's way high.
I agree.
And we're going to be forced to make a lot of cuts now. So that's all I have.
Mr. Black?
All right, I have a few questions, Scott.
Sure.
And this one's probably for Tommy to begin with. So we based it on $51 a barrel last year, 2018. I know it's about a 4-month delay. So the difference between February, March, April, May, June, probably July we received is around, on an average, around $20. Where has that additional revenue gone? And are we going to have a rollover with that additional revenue for 19?
Correct. Yes, if you look at the actual for 2018,
Yeah?
for the 10% royalty we got 3 quarters so far. We get paid by the quarter. We received 3 quarters so far. We're ahead by about $1.5 million on 10% royalties. However, the parish royalties on the checks we received so far, we're under by $600,000. So you have a difference there about $800. So
And that's because of the lack of production.
yes, I mean,
Okay, so you can't just look at these numbers raw.
Right.
You have to add in the production value.
absolutely.
which
That's,
nobody-
that's the problem
nobody
with
talks
us
about.
saying. That's what I told you before. I could tell you what the price is $100 a barrel, but if our checks are not reflecting that, you know what I'm
So
saying?
that's why I asked you that question first, because I want everybody to understand
Right.
that it's not based on the price per barrel.
Right.
It's a combination of that and the production amount.
Exactly.
And this obviously shows a very big decrease in production in Plaquemines Parish, period. So let's get back to the number itself. Now, we probably have similar sources, and you use the feds and the state, and the projections, understanding the state is going with 65. I think personally that it's going to be more practical to be around 57, 58 for 2019 on average. And I think that's pretty conservative. I think it's probably going to be a little bit lower. But, I mean, would you tend to agree with that? That 50, that 60 would be a stretch?
My gut feeling is that range from the state to the Fed, I think might be a little bit higher than what you're thinking. It's just kind of a gut feeling. I think that, we'll see. OPEC is meeting on December 6th, and I have a feeling that they're even having a meeting before the 6th with the Russian, OPEC and Saudi Arabia and Russia are meeting, and I think that they're going to maybe start talking about curtailing production to get that rate a little bit higher, to get the oil price higher. But that's just my.
But the problem is, so when you curtail a production, you still have a lot in reserves. And how long it's going to take to catch up with that? I mean, we're talking about maybe 2 quarters.
Right, well, yeah.
So if you base it on 70, based on what OPEC does, well, you're not going to catch up until the reserves are out, and that's going to take half a year.
I
So,
agree with that.
okay, so-
Definitely going to take.
so
time.
I want to add all of those things together and not base it upon just a $70 a barrel. I want to base it upon the price per barrel that's trading, the production that we have here, which is a large decrease, and the amount of reserves that we have currently that's going to take to go away before we can catch back up. So we're not, even if we do see $80 a barrel, we're not going to see those revenues until September, October, I think, of 19.
You're still going to have to build from 50-something dollar a barrel oil to an average. We're talking about an average.
Right, I know.
12 months for 2019.
And that's if production's sustained at what it's at now.
Right, exactly. I think you're seeing a little leveling off actually right now.
I do too.
So
And I don't think, yeah, you know, and I don't think we'll see 80 until probably April, May, if we do, which we probably won't. But that's just somewhat wishful thinking. But anyway,
I mean, this is not going to make a big difference, but when we do the revenues, everything for January and February is actually for the prior year. So anything, we won't actually start even seeing any revenues for 2019 until March. So
yeah, right.
Of
I
course,
get it, but it's going to catch
it
up
will
on the
take a long
back
time.
end.
Right.
It's going to catch up on the back end.
Oh, I agree. I just want to let you know,
Yeah.
it will, those numbers are going to stay in 2018 until March of 2019. But
Well, I'll throw it out here right now. I think it needs to be based on 55. If we base it on a number, I don't think we need to go anywhere over 55. I know that doesn't sound great because it means a lot of cuts, you know, but I mean, we debated quite a bit last year from going from 48 to 51,
Right.
you know, and that's, I don't know. That's my opinion, Scott and Tommy. I mean, I don't know if,
Well, looking at that, we just kind of threw it together. You're looking at $5 million cut. I did the chart. I could bring it up. Let's see.
5 million on a $24 decrease.
About $5 million, correct. Now, I mean, the way we did this is we tried to come up with a number for each dollar, how much the decrease would be. And we came up with $211. 211,000, I'm sorry. But, you know, is that number, you know, perfect? Probably not, because it's based on price, it's not
Fluctuates,
based
yeah,
on
right.
production. So that's kind of the only way we can do it, though. So whatever y'all decide to do, like I said, that's $5 million. I had come up with a number of $2.9 million at $65. So at 60 would be about $4 million, and then at 55, if you're saying it's about $5 million, roughly. We'd have to come up with the real number, but it's around $5 million.
I'm trying to be realistic and not being a politician or work as a government employee right now. I want to be very realistic because I don't want to come back here this time next year or even before that, and we're asking for money.
I would make a suggestion. I mean, it's been done years ago. I think that after, you know, take a relook at this in 6 months and readjust or have a realignment, maybe. You know, I know that's easier said than done with budgeting and things like that, but that had been done in the
I think
past.
79 is a stretch. A big stretch if you're saying we usually average between the state and the federal, which that would be
Between
maybe
65 and
60,
72.
60, 65, 60-ish.
It's definitely up to y'all. You'll tell, and that's going to be our starting point. You know, you can see what our fund balance is, right over $200,000. You got $3 million in BP, $3.8 million in BP, and you got your buying and debtors money, which you don't usually want to touch. So, and you got emergencies of 3.2. So that's basically what your fund balances are. You know what? Frankly, there's no way you're going to get. I mean, we can go through every one of these departments and look at the operating budget. And if you get $200,000 or $300,000 out of this, I'm talking that would be a lot. If you get all the departments in here, they're going to ask for more money than what you have in here now. So I'm just telling you, you know, we went through this. We cut this thing already.
So you feel comfortable with $79?
No,
With-
I'm not saying,
I
I'm not
mean,
saying that. I'm
I-
not saying
I-
that at
yeah.
all. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to tell you different ways, what's going to happen. We can go through the whole budget, every department, and try to find, $1,000 here, $1,000 there. But you're not going to find millions of dollars.
But see, but that's the whole problem with the system, is that everybody in this room knows that $79 a barrel to base the budget on is ridiculous. So now we have to sit here, and it's not just him, it's everybody that sits in that seat wants to get the budget proposed. It's as simple as that, and then we have to do the hard work. And unfortunately, we have a bunch of council members that are leaving, got some new ones coming in, who doesn't have a say in it. So it's tough, because we're going to have to probably cut at least $20 off.
And that's what I'm telling you. So basically, you know where your money's at? We go through this every year. Your money's in personal services, is in salaries, benefits, and your money's in the bond payments. You can't do anything with the bond payments. That's $8 million. Nothing you can do about that. We have to pay it. So, the only place you have any, as far as to cut expenses, we just don't have the revenues, that we had. We're trying to do the same services, years ago with the same amount of money. We just don't have it. When all was at $100 a barrel, we was looking at $50 million of oil royalties, then it wasn't an issue. But we're not looking at that now. Now we're looking at, not even 17, $13 million. So, on gas royalties, that's with the 10% royalties. So, that's where we stand. I don't want to use the BP money any more than anybody else does. I think that money, but, unfortunately, that we were forced to do that, to put the expenses in here.
Right, but then what's going to happen if oil don't go up and you run out of BP money? You need to learn how to live without it, if you can.
Well, I'm just telling you, that's the only place to cut, is is personal services, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, we can go through each one and look at the operating budget, and y'all can look and see and compare it, but we've done that already. That's how we got to where we are now. We already had to cut, it was $10 million when we started, from what the departments asked for to what's in this book. We have to budget revenues over expenses when we present this budget. You can use the fund balances from the year before to put money back in or to reduce the revenues or whatever you want to do. But we have to balance the budget. So,
Oh, you finished? You finished? Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes. I guess my opinion is that the average base would be about $46 a barrel as of this point in time. The other thing is that we do have bond indebtedness funds, and the main purpose of that legislation was to pay for bond indebtedness. So there's a possibility you can take some of that out of the bond indebtedness fund. And the point is always the perception is that it's a rainy day fund. It's not a rainy day fund. It's a bond indebtedness fund. And that's a possibility that if we get into a crunch, we can take some of that and apply that towards the $8 million that we have in the deficit by bond issues to be paid. And that's by legislation. That's what it was designed for. But this board, this council will have to make a determination how to do what they have to do. Now, the thing is that we have to live within our projectional means. We think that is a possibility. It's fine to be lower than what the price is, and rather than being over what the price is not. Because then you have another problem coming back to have a meeting to correct the budget. And if we go with some more findings, some more funds by seeing where we can get the money from. And 9 times out of 10, the way we did it was last year was done through personnel. So the thing is that we have to look at is the overall picture is what we want to do. There's ways that it can get done. That's the two biggest things that I see, bond indebtedness and BP fund, which is only $5 million till October, but it's not. It's only for a couple of years. It's not an ongoing revenue. So that have to be determined how we're going to balance it out. Now, we have to make that decision, so if whatever it will be, and whatever it is, it is. So that's all I wanted to say, that we need to really consider the average, which is $56 a barrel, according to the report that I have seen. The projection is. That's all, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Salvant?
Yes, what I'm about to say is I didn't think I would hear myself saying it over my 4 years of sitting on this council, but I agree with you, Mr. Black, wholeheartedly. And I think it would even be realistic to project the barrel, the price per barrel in the mid-40s, John, or as Mr. Black say, in the mid-50s. And my concern would be to pass on unrealistic budget to this new council would be, would not be very productive and effective as this current council. I think we need to pass a more realistic budget over to them. I'm sitting here with one more council meeting, and I mean, my thing is that a legacy need to be established by this council, and we need to be held accountable for our actions, and our action would be that we pass on a more realistic budget. 79 is just, to base the budget on 79 is just definitely not realistic to me. And I just think that we should be more prudent in our comments, and I think it should be at least, mid-50s at the most. And that's it for me, Ms. Williams.
Thank you. Tommy Scott?
Yeah, tell us what y'all want to,
Mr. Black?
I'd
Mr.
offer-
Black wants to offer a motion to set the budget at 55, seconded by Ms. Salvant. How much of a reduction?
well, like I said, I'm going to have to figure out the numbers because we split the numbers up into the levy districts now, so I have to go back and put it in my spreadsheet, but it's roughly about $5,064,000. That's what we estimate it to be.
That's a lot.
That's what you come up with? Yeah. So if we're using the same formula we've been using, yes, $5,064,000. I can draw up an amendment. I mean, you don't have to vote on it now, but if that's what you want to set the price at now, then we could just work off of that and say, look, we got to cut $5 million. Or we, you just add
Another 422,000.
Yeah. That'd be, you're looking at about $4.6 million.
57. 56 is
Either one. Yeah, maybe if you want to, what do they want to do?
56,
We're going to take a little short recess.
Okay?
What time is it? What's the time? I'd like to call the budget hearings back to order at 10:18 a.m. Mr. Black? Oh, I'm sorry, I took you out the queue.
I kind of like that opening music. Yeah. All right, I have somewhat of an idea. It's not a great one, but it is what it is. If we base the budget, and kind of follow along with me, Tommy, on $65 a barrel, that reduces the proposed budget by $3 million, right?
If you look at this little chart right here, I got every price. Oh, I'm sorry. I got every price about 2.954.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to write this down, but so 2.954.
Okay?
We need to add, if we replenish the YMCA's for Port Sulphur and Buras, 200,000, so you add that.
Right.
You add 50 for 4-H. And then the two positions you talked about that have already been filled, but they haven't been brought on, is budgeted, that's 100,000?
37,420, because one of them's firefighting.
Okay, I'm sorry, all right. What's the total deficit now?
$3.24.
$3,241,000.
I would say, take the 1.6 million in vacancies, is that, we have 1.6 in vacancies? So if you take the 1.6 in vacancies, what's the difference?
1.598.
Take it out of emergency.
1.598.
1.598. And then you take that 1.598 out of the 3.2 million in emergency.
Okay?
That leaves us with an emergency balance of what?
Yeah, 3.2.
1.7, huh?
What is it?
Yeah, I could get it, hold on.
1.7-ish?
1.6 something.
Yeah, I mean, rounded it off.
Okay. So we're basically
But
then balanced.
we really need to go through the manpower table.
But the reason why I'm talking about the manpower table is because for the last 3 years, we've been in a very similar situation. And we just recently, I think Ms. Audrey did it maybe 6 months ago, where we lifted that stipulation where everybody has to come before the council before you can hire and fund a position. If we go back to the old method that we used for the last 3 years of if you want a position, you have to come before the council, and if the money's there, then we'll fill it.
Right.
So we wouldn't have to go to the manpower table. We could do it like that. So my proposal would be to do the math I just did. It still leaves 1.7 or 1.6 in the emergency fund. It balances the budget. It sets on 65, which maybe gets us through June. If it does, the new council can reassess at a mid-year review, if we have to, and then all vacancies just have to come before the council.
Do we have an amendment for the positions? But not yet, huh?
So these two are good. And then Charlie wanted to put the insurance back in District 6.
I mean, to make up the, I'm talking about for the.
And if anybody's asking questions,
The vacancies are budgeted in the book. So what we'll have to do is an amendment to take them out. So we'll have to create that amendment, and we can.
Yeah, right.
It'll take us a little time to do it.
that's fine.
fine.
We got time.
I mean,
I'm going to bring this up real quick because I see the care centers here and it's texting me. From my understanding, and I think Mr. Edgecombe has the figures, is that you guys have received a $1.8 million grant.
1.4.
Tommy, they got a grant, an additional grant separate from last year?
I mean,
No, not
we don't
through
show
him,
that. That
through
would
the
go to them.
state.
I don't know, but did they, maybe somebody can come up and talk about that.
Yeah, that wouldn't go through us, so I mean, I wouldn't know.
I do have it.
There's a discussion up here that the grant from the parish is probably no longer needed because you guys received a state grant.
We have not received that state funding yet. We haven't even signed the contract on that money yet. We haven't heard from them since October, so we have no idea when that start date is going to be, or at what point. So it might not, it's not necessarily guaranteed that it's going to start, and it's over a 5-year period. So it's not going to be a 1.4 million lump sum, and it's cost reimbursement, so it's not even that we're guaranteed that money, it's just depending on the cost that we spend. So we would still have to cut, if we don't have the funds from the parish, we are looking at possibly having to cut services starting January 1st, because we don't have any indication from the state as to when that money would
And what we
start.
gave you historically, 200,000?
Yes, sir.
Cut services, or what about personnel?
Well, we'll have to cut personnel, which would then cut services. We have just expanded into all the schools in the parish, so we're covering the entire area. And so our mileage cost alone this year has been almost $30,000, which obviously is an increase simply because we have more personnel traveling. We're now back on the East Bank. We're now back on the lower end of the parish. We're in the schools 3 days a week. All of those services, which would greatly be impacted because we'll have to pull those services back as we have traditionally had to do until we get word as to when the other funds would start. We just don't know. The state has not given us any official start date. We have not heard from them since October when we sent them in a request. So we just don't know what's going to happen with that fund at this point.
Mr. Edgecombe. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I just got off the phone with Mr. Tom with Pan American. The dollar figure is 1.865 million. The expected date, if they assign the CEA in December, would be February, March of next year.
That's the first we're hearing. We haven't heard anything. We haven't personally heard anything from them.
I called the gentleman because I was asking questions, and so was my colleagues.
And that's a lump sum, or is it a 5-year payment
5 year.
So what's that? 1.8,
divided by 5?
5 years.
Like I said, there'll be nothing
some thousand.
pretty much this year they will receive.
They won't receive anything for what you said, for 19?
To February and March of next year. That's when they'll start
19.
receiving, if they sign the CEA in December this year.
Which we're not the holdup on the CEA. I don't know, we're not the holdup on the CEA. We turned in all of our paperwork to them back in October. Now keep in mind, they originally told us it was going to start in September of this year. So I don't know how much, until we see something signed, we don't know for sure, because originally the date was September of 2018. Then in October, we finally heard back from them. We submitted all their paperwork that they requested, and now they're saying February, but without a signed CEA, we really can't count on that fund.
It's signed in December.
So what if we did 50, and if it didn't come through and you guys came back to us?
Anything would be, the thing is, and also keep in mind, this is cost reimbursement, so even if it starts in February, we won't see any of those funds until, I'm not even sure what their payment structure is.
And it's about $360 a year. Over a 5-year period, 1.8.
Right. If we give 50, and then if it doesn't come through, the grant doesn't come through, whatever else, then we can reassess it. At least 50 to get them through the
First couple months.
first few months until the payment's done. I'm just looking for a way to keep it alive.
We
you-
definitely need to keep it alive, that's for sure.
Yeah, and do you have any idea, what the payment, because that was the other part, we just don't know what it starts in February, when's our first payment going to be expected? Do we
What I'll
have,
do if you want,
Reimbursement,
after
you
I'll
have
give
to
you
spend
Mr.
money
Tom's
first.
number, where you
Okay.
can communicate what we can.
The problem I'm having here is that we have to do the research. We shouldn't be doing the research.
I understand. I
On this-
agree. They should follow up.
Exactly.
All right. That would bring us down to 50,000. And then what is cut from pause?
They're fully funded, I think.
All right, well then with that, if we can offer, I would, unless anybody else has anything else, I would say that sets us up relatively decent. Not exactly where we want to be. It's going to put a little bit more work on the 19 council, but, there's no other choice unless we've had discussions, Tommy.
Oh, I know, you're limited to what you can do. There's,
Do you think that is a plausible plan, as a plan that's feasible?
is it the best plan? No, but coming in here, I had no options to give you.
Yeah, what's other options?
Like I said, if you want to take a look at the vacancies and see if you think one or two of them need to stay in, but it's up to you.
The thing with the vacancies is we can determine that we're not going to hire anybody this year anyway. So next year,
Well, some of them are probably in process, not being hired, but like advertisers, things like that. But, if y'all don't want to look at, there's a couple other things we do need to talk about.
This year as well.
Right.
The ones that haven't been hired yet.
Right. What we did was we got in touch with Civil Service, and they told us the ones that were actually in the process of being hired right now. So those are the ones we're putting
the
back
budget.
in.
so people are getting hired.
People are getting hired.
I
Correct.
would,
Chairman, when you finish, everybody talking.
yeah.
I'm in the queue.
I'm going to be finished after this.
I'm sorry.
I just want to say that, with all those things said, if you can draw up that, I would offer the motion as stated.
Okay, well, it's going to take us a little time because we got to do one amendment for each one of those departments for the vacancies. That's going to take us a little bit of time. The oil and gas thing is not going to be, be pretty quick. So you're not asking for a whole bunch, but it will take us some time to put this together.
How do we, Tim, do we have to have it actually in writing before we vote on it, or? All right.
Well, we'll have to do the amendments,
Yeah,
and we'll pass the amendments out. You can vote on the amendments. Then to actually do for the special meeting, I think you can call that till 3 o'clock.
It's 3 o'clock, yeah.
Well, that's enough time for you guys to
Right.
get it
Put
together,
it all
right?
together. And then, like I said, there's a couple other issues I want to talk to y'all about real fast before we,
Okay, that's fine.
before we all take a recess or whatever, however you're going to.
There are some things that you said that we need to go through.
I just want to make you
I just
aware
don't
of
want you
some.
guys to go ahead and do all that work, and then it fails.
Right. Well,
I don't know how to get that assurance. We've had a discussion up here, but
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, the simplicity that was stated earlier, how to get this thing done. And this is, first of all, we're going to be cutting personnel. That's number one, when you do that. The other thing, if we take it from BP and bond indebtedness and make sure that anything over $57, we can do legislation to put the money back in the BP's posture, and everything stays status quo. And we move forward. We won't have to do anything else. Now, here you're talking about taking personnel out of the line item, operational budget, that hasn't been fulfilled yet, but in the process of being fulfilled. So then we have another problem, eliminating services again. There's no need for us to do that. Take the money from BP and bond indebtedness and whatever is needed, the $57 I think is appropriate and very conservative, and we'll have a good balanced budget in the incoming year. Anything else, you're stretching it. A possibility. You don't know what's going to happen. Even the $57 may not be sufficient. May be too high. So we really need to be very concerned, very conservative about our attempts to get this done. We have a way out, a simpler way out, and also the monies will be put back into those projects, those funds, and those line items. So there's no brainer to me. But I can't vote, Mr. Black, I no disrespect, but I can't support that, what you suggest.
That's just an idea, Mr. Bartholomew.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, my idea is simple.
What we want to do.
Simple to get it done that way, and there won't be no brain, no stretched out item. The only concern now is whether or not what you want to give to the Y and to the care center. And for whatever else you want to give to, that has to be added to that amount of $5 million. I think it was, Tommy, you said it was?
At 57?
Yeah.
$5 million.
Right.
Around $5 million.
And you can add that to the total and divide it by 2 and take that amount from each one of those revenues that's existing, now existing. You're not trying to appropriate, it's there already. And then the best seller of it all, the money will be replaced. The bond indebtedness is already in posture to be replaced. Then we come back and do the legislation to replace the bond indebtedness fund. So there it is. At no strain, no constraints to the budget, no layoffs, nothing about personnel, no services being cut. Everything is within this range, within the range that have been set as operation. That's all, Madam Chair.
My only concern is, doesn't the bond indebtedness affect our credit rating?
Yes, it does. Once it's been, just hadn't been this often before, but it's been like every year they've been calling us and getting us to do a bunch of, answer a bunch of questions. And the bond indebtedness and our fund balance, our total fund balance, makes a big difference in what the bond rating is. It does help that. And Ms. John, you're saying about bond indebtedness will be replenished. Well, it really won't be replenished, because what will happen is when we do this budget again next year, then that money's going to go in there, but we're going to need to take it right back out to be able to balance the budget.
But the point is, it will be put back in this fiscal year coming, 19. It will be going back in. Now, I said all of it, but whatever we accumulate over that amount that's been appropriated for us to put in. Then you come back the following fiscal year, then if it needs to be, then like you said, it's a possibility you may take it out. Then may not even do that. Maybe somewhere else. So if it's less going to be replaced for next fiscal year.
I don't know how it's going to be replenished.
To me,
As far as the vacancy,
hold up, wait. What is the money that it goes over, 19?
Over
27?
So, but what happens is, we can't balance that makes our unreserved undesignated a negative. So when we take that money out of unreserved undesignated, we give it to bond indebtedness, it makes it a negative, which we can't have. So then we just have to go right back to bond indebtedness. It's a flip-flop is all we're really doing. So are you saying it's going to be replenished? It could be, because every month Scott gives me the numbers of how much over $19 a barrel we're putting in there.
Yeah.
And so, depending on how much over $19 a barrel we are, then it could be replenished some. Will it get that high? I can't tell you. I don't know.
And just to clarify, that the plan that I had proposed, and I don't fully disagree with your plan, but I do have to make a correction, Mr. Bartholomew, that in no way
Cuts manpower.
cuts manpower.
Taking out the vacancies.
It's vacant, yeah, but vacant, yeah, so,
It's cut.
you're not cutting it.
They're not on the payroll, so you're not cutting.
It's budgeted. And why we don't have these in place? Because of civil service. A lot of these positions not done because of civil service action. So don't tell me we're not budgeted. The position is budgeted.
But you're not cutting
Yes, we are.
personnel. You're not laying off. You cannot say that. That is not true, Mr. Bartholomew.
We're cutting jobs.
We're not cutting
Positions.
personnel.
I
We're
said
cutting
personnel.
positions, but we're cutting the funding from the positions. If they need the positions later on, they'll come back to the council like we've done for the last 3 years. And I'm not sure why you're smiling, Mr. Cormier, but you actually proposed this budget the way it is.
I don't think we need to get the negative.
I'm not, but he's sitting there smiling. We're trying to do something that's serious business here. And I don't find it funny.
Well, Madam Chairman, The only thing that I'm.
Wait,
If-
I'm sorry.
Can we do an
Go
amendment?
ahead.
Yes, if I may,
So-
since Councilman Black wanted to
Here we go.
bring it up. To put it in perspective, what you're missing and what Councilman Bartholomew in his long years of service here gets, what you're missing, Councilman Black, is that in 2013, Council members Lapine and Edgecombe approved the general fund budget was over $53 million. And you had other budgets similar to that. Now, the budget we proposed this year, that I proposed, was very conservative, a cut of $22 million. And so that's where Councilman Bartholomew gets it. And these vacancies, because of the delays in hiring, or represent cuts in manpower and resulting cuts in services.
And I get it too. That's why I've offered my position and proposal to keep your budget as proposed with some very minor amendments. And Kim, is there a way that we can vote on authorizing the finance department to draw up the amendments so we can recess until 3 o'clock and then vote on that? And if it doesn't pass, then there's no use
We
of,
can't recess, because Tommy said there's some things that we still need.
well, I know after that, but
Well, basically what's going to happen is we're going to do the amendments. You're going to have to vote on every amendment separately. Just
I get that, but can we do something now to kind of ratify, not ratify it, but ratify it later on, at least to give you the authorization to go do it?
Do the amendment.
Because well, what I'm saying is if it fails, and you go do all that work,
But if you want to do the amendment for $65, we can do that one, and
no, because if all that stuff goes, I'm not doing 65. It's a package deal, because that's the only way the numbers add up.
I mean, I don't know how you could,
Do you want to take a chance? I mean, I just want to get some type of assurance.
Nothing, so.
I want to take some assurance from the council that when you come back with all the amendments, that it all passes. As opposed to come back at 3 o'clock and we wasted 5 hours of time over nothing.
Yeah, she's almost through the general fund, so another hour, we'll have these things written up. But I mean, however you want to go. I mean,
I get that.
I know what you're saying, though. I mean, you don't want us to do all the amendments for
I can't ask people
nothing.
what they want to do. It's against the, I mean.
I understand. I mean, if we vote on them, it's for nothing.
Mr. Russo?
Yeah, I'll make the amendment to go to 65 right now.
Okay. We can, did you draw that one up? Okay, I'm going to give it to you. Okay, we'll draw that amendment up now.
I'll offer next for a second.
Mr. Russo offers the amendment for the budget to be based on $65 a barrel. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Juneau.
Okay, give us a second, we'll draw that one up.
Okay, can we just go on to whatever else you want to do? And I agree, Mr. Black.
The amendments.
Yes, we can.
I can't vote on that because if you set it at 65 and then you don't do the rest of the stuff, then we're stuck at 65. It's got to be a package deal. Otherwise, you're going to wind up pulling it.
I do. I call a question.
Mr. Russo calls the
Abstaining.
question.
I'll be abstaining. Set up. How can you not see that?
Means you were sleeping, Mr. Juneau. Philippine, you wanted to speak?
He called the question.
Can open a machine? Okay, well, we can wait.
We got several line items because it's broken down into districts now, so we, 10 minutes will take us, Brad, do this one.
Y'all want to recess?
What? No, I know what you want to do. I'm abstaining because he's going to vote no on the other amendments.
We're going to take a recess while finance gets the paperwork together.
I mean, that's not in the book. But it's going to be added on there, right? Okay. Okay. We can do it.
Like to call the budget hearing back to order at 10:46 a.m. Question has been called on Mr. Roussell's proposing the budget to go to $65 a barrel. The machine is open. 65. We're voting for 65.
A little bit.
This legislation fails 7-2.
Now we got to do one.
Wait, let me cut you on, Mr. Black. Can you clear the machine?
Gotcha.
Mr. Black offers a motion to set the budget to $57 a barrel, seconded by Mr. Edgecombe.
I'll open for discussion real quick. Tommy, with this one, we set it at 57. Go back to the same plan as it proposed before, but the difference now from 57 to 65 is what?
4.642.
Minus the 3 point, what?
If you're going to put those other departments in there, the 200,000 and the 50,000.
So hold on. So 57 is set at what?
The difference is 400.
It's 4 million what?
4,642,000.
Then you put back in the 1.6 of vacancies.
Hold on.
Well, if we take out the one.
Well, hold on. All right. So if we set it at 57, this motion is to amend it to 57. So after we vote on this, what I'm saying is in the interim, draw up amendments to take 1.6 million out of the vacancies, or all of it out of vacancies, so reduce that 4.642. Take out, I'm sorry, we're going to add in 200,000 for the Y, 50 for 4-H, 50 for care, and then the 37 for the two positions, which gives us a balance of what?
4,642,000. Add 200,000. 50.
37,000.
Subtract out the 1.6 for that.
It's not going to be exactly that because I got two being
No,
hired.
just close. All right, 3,379,000.
All right, can you take out,
Take two.
divide that in half? Take out half of it from emergency, and other half from bond indebtedness. How much is coming out of each fund?
1.6 from each one.
Okay.
8.
All right. We'll vote on this amendment for 57. If you can draw up those amendments, and then we'll come back at whatever
Then we'll
time.
move on to whatever else you want to discuss
Okay,
in
yeah,
the
while
book.
she's drawing up the amendments.
Yes.
And then, what we have to do also is to actually do the ordinance, that you're going to vote on at the end of this thing, which is, not till 3
Right,
o'clock.
you draw all that stuff up.
Right now.
But based
we're
on those figures I just gave you.
Right.
But right now, we're going to vote on the 57.
$7 a barrel.
Okay, all right. She got that one? 57.
I got it right here.
All right, Ms. Toops, I'll call a question.
Hang on, let me get us the numbers. 1,000,009.
We're not going to wait for the paper?
I mean, we can. Doesn't
No.
matter.
We can go without.
It mattered before, but it doesn't matter now.
I don't know.
Well, let's wait.
I'm asking this from the council secretary.
80.
You want to wait, Kim?
We're going to wait for the paper.
All right.
4641990.
Okay.
You sure?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Guess we'll take another short recess.
No, don't take a break. I mean, she'll be done. It's printing now.
Yeah, just give me the number.
Give me one.
Yeah, well, we're still keeping,
All right.
we're still keeping 1.6 in the emergency fund.
Okay,
So it's not like we're depleting it.
all right.
Okay, Mr. Black has called a question on the proposed budget being at $57 a barrel. The machine is open. Legislation passes 9-0. At this time, Tommy, you want to go on to other things you want to discuss?
Yeah, we can. Yes, ma'am, we can go into to a couple of other little items. I mean, do y'all want to go to the manpower table or any of that, or just leave it the way it is? I mean, we're going to take the vacancies out. I mean, we're drawing that up now. But I mean, do y'all want to look at that at all or not? No? It's up to y'all. You tell me, if not, it doesn't matter. I mean, I just,
Want to put stuff back?
There's no reason to get into that if we're going to go with those amendments, because it's 1.6 million.
Put it right here.
okay?
This was the budget that was proposed to us. It's 1.6 million, and then we'll just have to come back next year and do what we did the last 3 years.
Okay, one of the issues I want to bring up to y'all is the port interagency fees. I know that's a big issue, but this, I need to tell y'all what's in the budget, so you'll know, and how's this going to work. Because, and I can explain to you what we collected so far this year. Let me bring it up. For 2019, I used the same formula exactly as we used last year. You know, the percentages are the same. All I did was took the budgets for each department, I put them in exactly the same, and it comes up to be $861,000. The issue is, this year, we charged the port, we sent invoices to the port, we had a meeting and we decided, based on actual numbers that were actually spent in these departments, I sent them invoices for the first 2 quarters of the year. Well, they sent us a payment, but the payment was actually $30,000 short of what we invoiced them. Because they adjusted some things out that they didn't think they should be paying for. So that will give us a problem. You know, if we budgeted around $800,000 for 2018, if we collected and they made those adjustments, so they'll probably add up to be about $100,000 worth of adjustments at the end of the year, and we did it based on actual, we'll probably be about $150,000 to $200,000 short for 2018. Now, if we do this for 2019 and do it the same way, I kind of need some guidance, because we may need to cut this thing if they're not going to pay that much. You know, if they're going to make adjustments to that, and that's what I'm saying. I don't really know if we should leave this amount in the budget. If they're going to pay the way they're paying this year, then we need to probably adjust this.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, who determines what they pay?
What's that?
Who determines what they pay?
Well, we did this, the council did that.
I'm saying, who make the decision of what the port's going to pay for
Well, when we
fees?
sat here and we went back and forth last year, if y'all remember.
Understand.
And we said this is how much they were going to pay, and we put that
At
in
the
the
end of
budget.
the day, the port make the director of the port make that decision, or does this council make that decision?
Well,
Who holds them accountable for paying? That's more the question.
That's, well, but we are, I'm assuming.
so I just need to know how you want to do this.
I suggest we move just like has it been, what you suggest. And they have to justify why they don't want to pay what they took out of the proposal that you have made. And because I don't know what the conditions are.
Well,
Excuse
the
me.
issue is this, I hate to put the whole amount in there if we're not going to receive that much.
Yeah, but I'm just saying to justify what they're saying that they're not going to pay. Why? We are providing those services.
Mr. Black?
What's the shortage this year?
Well, if we receive the money that, like we received the first 2 quarters, probably be between $100,000 and $150,000.
So is it specific services that they're not paying, or?
Basically, what happened is.
Hold on, let me
Okay.
finish.
Go ahead.
So it's 150,000 short?
around that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know till the.
Do I agree with the formula? No. But did this council vote on it last year? Yes. Leaving it as it is, the council decides how much they pay. Whether I lose that vote or people on this council lose that vote, it's a majority vote, and that's the law, and that's the way it goes. I'm sorry, Port, but that is the way it is. So you need a budget as it is. I mean, that's my opinion on it, because if we can deal with that next year, but as far as this year goes, we did vote for that amount of money, and we negotiated back and forth for quite some time.
Right. We did, and that's why I wanted to bring it up to you, to let you know that, at the end of the year, I'm going to be short if they don't pay what we budgeted. And the first two payments we received were less than that budget, for sure. So I just wanted to bring that up to you, let you know that, and but if you want to leave it in the way it is, that's what I want.
That needs to be paid for this year. I would suggest to leave it in for next year, and then if that fight needs to be fought next year, we'll fight it. But as of now, this council, at this time last year, we had our disagreements. We did. I was just, so I was here.
Back and forth, and that's what we decided to do, and that's why I put that money in the budget, and that's what I asked them to pay, and and it was adjusted. So I just wanted to let y'all know. We'll go back to them and tell them. I mean, I'll have their budget meeting tomorrow, and they're going to have to budget the same amount that we budgeted as revenue. So they have to budget those expenses. So, so we'll go ahead. If everybody's fine with that, we'll go ahead and move from that issue. The next thing.
Well, I think there's other people.
Hold up. Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I keep sounding like a broken record, but again, I mean, I think it took 4 years for me to continually agree with Bo Black. But it's unbelievable, boy. I think we could have been really good working partners if we would have took this approach early on. But I totally agree. The port doesn't set the direction for the council. The council set the direction for the port. And I think we should leave it in as is, and it's just like anything else. You owe what you owe, and you just have to find a way of making them accountable and forcing them to pay what they owe. And it's simple as that.
The way it is basically is we're setting it off of percentages of different departments, but it's basically a flat fee that we're asking them to pay. I mean, really, that's the way it is. So when we put that $800,000 or whatever it is in the budget, then we're basically saying, look, this is the fee we're asking you to pay, $800,000.
But Tommy, you don't get to make the liberty if your water bill or your light bill is due. You don't say, oh, okay, I'm not going to pay $300. I want to pay $150. You don't get that liberty.
Well, y'all put in the budget their expenses, the same amount that we put in our revenues. So, I mean, it's in their budget to pay the whole amount. So that's all I want. I mean, I don't want to go any further with this. I just wanted to make sure that's the direction we were going, and I was going to, I want y'all to know that if we're not, then I'm going to have to cut this. We'd have to cut that budget also. So.
Okay.
Mr. Burt?
Tommy, I believe y'all had a meeting too sometime this year with Mr. Peoples and maybe Mr. Roussel. Did y'all agree on any any numbers outside of a flat fee?
Yeah.
Percentages or more actuals?
The port wanted to see the actuals. They wanted to actually see the actual expenses for those things. So basically what I did is I would run an actual report of what was actually spent in those departments through, for each quarter. And then I would take the percentages that we decided on, and then that's how much I sent the invoice for. So I sent the invoice for those things, and when I received the payment back, it was reduced by over $30,000 for deductions that they decided to take out.
If I'm not mistaken, some of those deductions were duplication of services, i.e. the council attorney. Mr. Matthews is here too. He can probably explain that. So I think that's why the deduction took place.
I mean, that's not for me to decide on that. I just, like I said, I'm just telling you that what we invoiced them for, we didn't receive. And,
So we either need to pay, they either need to pay by service or a flat fee. I mean, because it seems like they're questioning part of the services because you're billing them what services were used.
I don't
But
go in.
the overall budget is like a
I didn't
flat
go in
fee.
and look at each department and see, what charges those were. I just took the department, look at the total department expenses for that quarter. I took the percentage that we decided on here, and that's how I came up with the invoice. And they asked for the details, the details of
Right,
what we were
itemized.
charging them for. And when they got the details, they went in and just took some of those things out. Whether it's duplication of services or not, I couldn't tell you.
We don't itemize that.
Wait.
We really should, and I think, the internal auditor would probably agree, and, probably sure Jim would agree too. But we do the same thing with the sheriff's office. I just use that as an example for prisoners. We set a flat rate, and, that fluctuates, but we do the same thing with oil and gas. We set a rate, but it fluctuates. So it's not, we set a rate based on a percentage, on a probability. It's not an actual. So the way we do it is probably the only way, unless you sit there and just budget $1 million, itemize, and they either get money in return
Right.
or money,
But that's basically what I'm.
but that's not how we do it.
You either do it as a flat fee, or you do it like I invoiced them.
Right. But it is based on a formula. It's not
Right,
just
my
a number
only
out of the
issue
air.
with this is that what I billed them, based on that formula, is not what was paid. Because, they went in and they adjusted those things. Now, how much will they adjust on the next bill? I don't know. So, I don't know how much we're going to be short if we were collecting that way.
Mr.
To make those adjustments. We meet as a council, as a committee monthly. So if that was issues and concerns from the port, it should have came up before the port committee or the council. But for them to for the port staff to just make those determinations, I think is,
I'm not saying they should pay that way or not. I'm just saying that the way my
pay less than
the budget's going to be short if we.
what I'm saying is, Tommy, is a conversation should have taken place before now. All right.
I actually called the budget meeting, and the port didn't attend. I'm pro port, Mr. Burt, 100%. But I will say that I did have a meeting, and it was set up. I was out of town in D.C., and I don't want to bring out the dirty laundry, but
We'll talk
you
about
said
it
that.
tomorrow.
I was there. We just need to go with it the way it is, and we'll deal with the 150 over the next month and a half.
We'll move on.
Mr. Bartholomew?
I'm quite aware of the council being a governing authority of the port. It's a no-brainer. I already knew that. The point is, what has been proposed, there was no objection from this council. I think there is no need for no discussion.
Right.
Point blank. But see, that's my point of all this stuff. If we are the governing authority and we support what was given, what is written, then we move forward. Now, when we go into the port thing and the direction, whatever they have concerns, then we address those concerns. Then if we feel that changes need to be made, when we do it by a resolution of ordinances. But as it stands now, this was being proposed, and we all been agreed to it. We just move forward. There's a lengthy discussion. There is no discussion, as far as I see it. Thank you.
You had something else, Mr. Burt? No? Okay. All right, Tommy.
Okay, the next thing I want to bring up to y'all is the.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Peoples wanted
Oh,
to
I'm
speak.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say in response to the comment that there might have been some duplication in services. Certain percentages were come up with to make the original estimate that you voted on. In my opinion, some of those percentages were too low. They ought to actually be higher. And there were also some departments that should have been included that weren't included. So I think what you did was you voted on a flat fee, and that's what they ought to be paying.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the next issue I want to bring up to you is something we talk about every year is the firefighting fund. As you know, the revenues for the firefighting fund. Let's talk about the ambulance fees for 2018. We budgeted $1.1 million, but in actuality, we may collect $300 to $350,000. So at the last meeting, you're going to see there's an ordinance that's has been introduced, and it's on the table right now for various changes. And you're going to see a decrease in that in the firefighting fund ambulance fees of around $700,000
Because of this.
because they're short.
Now, did you have any, and no one's here from firefighting, but is this as a result of not billing properly?
Well, the president just signed a contract with that, though, right? Mr. Cormier, which is, we have asked him to do.
Just recently, though, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's going to.
Yes.
It'll catch up.
2019.
It should catch up, hopefully.
2019, we budgeted the same 1.1 million because we were thinking that would have been corrected in 2019.
Correct, okay.
Which it wasn't. So I just wanted to let y'all know that when you're going to see this at the next council meeting.
Okay.
That reduction. But that same revenue is in there for 2019. We cut the fire department heavily in the operating budget. We took a lot of stuff out of there. So he may be coming back to you and trying to get some of that money back, but he's not going to have any fund balance left when we take these revenue reductions. So what I'm saying is the firefighting fund needs to be looked at. There's no doubt about it. They can't keep operating the way they are. Whether additional revenues or something's taken out of there. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but it definitely needs to be looked at because it's going to be a problem every year. So that's just something I wanted to bring up to you also.
For recognizing me. As I stated throughout last year as well, that I do believe that the proposition we're voting on of putting the ambulance services in the fire department is not legal, because the proposition was passed by the vote of the people for fire protection. It wasn't passed for EMS or ambulance services. Now, I don't know about the West Bank, but the East Bank is deprived of fire services. In Phoenix to Point LaHash, we are classified as a 10. And you know what a 10 is? It's not like even not having a fire department. Zero fire department. You're paying the highest rate, the highest insurance there is. That's in violation of that proposition. Woodlawn has a firehouse that's contaminated, and it's been proven by the Board of Health of Plaquemine Parish government that it's not safe. It has health issues and everything else. Beginning of the proposition passed, $4 million was appropriated to do a Woodlawn firehouse. We, as a council, included the proposition to put the EMS in the program. Then what happened? That means the firehouse was eliminated for funding purposes because of that legislation that was done. That is illegal at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not negative saying it's a fact. And that is a service, that is a protection that is should be afforded to the people on the East Bank because of the proposition that the people on the East Bank supported. Not solely on the West Bank, but the East Bank supported that and got screwed. So what I'm saying now, I'm looking into some litigation on behalf of the people on the East Bank to clear that up and get that straight, whether or not that is legal. Not a change, not an opinion, but actual legal for us to do that after the people had voted on that proposition. That's a difference. People voting for something and it's not being fulfilled. That's the only comment I have about that, and I agree that something has to be done, and it's going to have to get done sooner or later. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, if y'all don't want to go through the other reports, we can, if y'all give us some time to put this together, we can have the amendments all drawn up and the ordinance ready.
Okay. Well, Barbara just left to go get lunch. We have sandwiches and stuff coming in.
Can we break and let them do what they have to do, then come back and vote on the
I would
the
ask
budget?
that we come back around 2:30, because I know the meeting's supposed to be at 3, so if we can come back around 2:30, and we should have everything done. Well, we better do about 2, because we have to vote on all these amendments first. We'll vote on all the amendments, and then, in case there's any other discussion, but, 2 ought to give us time, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So if we can come back at 2, that ought to give us time to get everything together.
Okay.
Okay? So I guess we'll recess until 2 p.m.
Okay?
We'll recess. It's 11:11. Reconvene at 2 p.m. I'd like to call the budget hearings back to order at 2:01 p.m. Again, I don't have it, but... All right, Tommy, we'll turn it back over to you. You can lead us.
Okay?
Make sure your cell phone's silenced. Okay, thank you. He said it's off.
All right, I think we prepared all the amendments we had discussed. The first one is going to be a cleanup thing. I think I talked to most of y'all about this. This ordinance is for the 18 positions that were put in the ordinance in 2018 for flood control and road maintenance. They were put in the budget. Excuse me. They were put in. Y'all adopted. You put in the 2018 budget, but they didn't make it into the 2019 book because they didn't go into law until after the book was presented. So they're not in the book. So basically, this is just a cleanup thing. We just need y'all to vote against these two ordinances, showing you do not want to put these positions in the budget. If you want to put them in the budget, then it's going to, we'll have to increase. We'll have to find the money. So these two, you should vote against. Does everybody understand that? It's kind of crazy, but it's just a cleanup thing for us, that we know that you do not want to put these positions in the budget.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and pass these out.
Give one to like Richie Blink.
There's going to be two of them together, if you want to do them in Globo.
There's two of them, right? There's two of them, right?
Two of them.
Two ordinances, right?
Right. You got to vote against them, though. Okay. Right. I hate to tell you that, but vote no.
Okay. On a motion by Councilmember Bartholomew, seconded by Councilmember Black, the following amendment was proposed for adoption. Whereas upon review of the 2019 original proposed operating budget, amendments are necessary. Therefore, be it resolved that the Plaquemines Parish Council hereby amends the 2019 original proposed operating budget as follows. And it's been passed around. It's going to not fund 8 heavy equipment operator positions and various groundskeepers. Y'all know how many of them? I mean,
See what this is doing? You see it's adding the money to it?
yes,
You want to vote against it because you don't want to add this money.
right. This proposition is to add $393,200 to the 2019 budget.
Flood control, I guess.
Flood control was first.
No, we're going to take them in Globo. I'm sorry, that's one. The second one is going to be for the 10 tractor driver positions, and we'll take those in Globo. Offered by Councilmember Bartholomew, seconded by Councilmember Black. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, the machine is open.
Y'all turn me off again? I voted yes, as I voted not to fund them last time. You got it?
This is the big stack.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
I think his machine's messed up. Okay. It's not, his isn't flashing either. The legislation fails, 8 nay votes and 1 yay vote from Councilmember Roussel.
No, I was voting no. I was voting, oh yeah, I was,
You,
not to fund them.
that's,
Let it ride.
okay, these are done.
Actually, I kind of like that position now. I'm funding grass cutters and workers. Only one doing that? I kind of like it.
Kim, this is
Do
stuff.
do we need to read all of these? The vacancies? Okay, well, Barb can do it.
Oh, wait, you had
There you go, that's yours.
the one for, oh, that one, okay, okay, okay. All right, okay.
So you're on number 4.
This 5.
This will be pass, number 5.
Hello.
Yes. Y'all can do all those together if y'all want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we don't really have to. We could do that, huh? Yeah, but I can't do that because I'm gonna have to produce the revenues in 2018. By like $700,000 and use most of the fund balance. So just leave these like this because I don't want, I got definitely have to do that.
Okay, this time we're going to vote to unfund all of the vacancies that are in the 2019 budget.
Yo, check that for her real quick in the manpower.
Is there any objection to taking these in Globo? Everyone's okay with taking them in Globo? You have a copy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Barb, can you read them? I'll offer. Seconded by Mr. Edgecombe.
The first one is to unfund scanner clerk position 520-1519-01. Unfund civil service director position 533-1011-01. Unfund custodian position 620-2511-08. Unfund carpenter position 628-2443-02. Unfund public grounds keeper 640-2523-04. Should have seen the dollar amounts. Unfund 4 lifeguard positions. I'm not going to read all those numbers. Unfund 1 billing inspector position. Unfund receptionist PBX operator position. Unfund engineer intern position. Unfund 1 heavy equipment operator, 1 position, and 1 operator, 1 position, and 1 diesel mechanic position. Unfund 1 foreman position and 3 tractor driver, 2 positions. Unfund 1 workflow coordinator position. Unfund 1 clerk, 2 position. Unfund 1 dispatch operator position. And unfund 1 harbor master position.
I don't know. Those are all vacant. These are all unfilled vacancies. Okay, with that, unfunding those vacancies, you have a question, Mr. Burt? Oh, you're in the queue, I'm sorry. Any questions or comments? Ms. Salvant?
If that PBX operator, is that the position for the Bell Chase receptionist that we are unfunding?
These are all unencumbered positions, right?
Yes.
No one is in them at this time?
This is all unencumbered.
But I think she's in another
On
department.
another, yeah, well, it's still, but it's not her position, the one Ms. Aldridge's talking about.
These are vacancies, there's nobody in these positions at all.
Yeah, I understand that,
Unnamed.
but it was a conflict with her position. It was carrying her under buildings at one point, and I think she was supposed to revert back to her original position, which was PBX. So that's my concern. It's not?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, she's currently funded under the buildings that just have to carry over until someone, did they switch?
It's a question.
They got plenty of people. Mr.
I have the same concern with Sullivan because it has never been ratified for her to go back to her regular position.
Right.
So that means wherever she is, what department she is, she's not in that department, right? I'm sorry? Okay, she's being paid out of buildings.
So that's where she's budgeted for 2019.
I would suggest that in 2019, at the first meeting, we can do an ordinance with a new civil service director or whoever comes into that position to do that transfer, unfund the position she's in, then fund the PBX operator position then.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
From the floor.
yeah, I mean, that would be,
Come up, Tony. You have to come up.
I have the courthouse coming open, and I need a position for the courthouse.
the
It's gonna
problem
be a while
is,
for that.
yeah, everybody's going to need positions.
Right.
We're just cleaning it all up right now, and then we're going to go back to the old way of doing things
You'll come before.
next year, where you come before us to ask for a position, and then we'll make a
Okay.
decision as a council to either fund it and then put it in an open hiring freeze.
Okay.
And you need more than one position.
Right, yeah, we're going to need a lot of positions, but
Yeah, because presently, I was told that they would reallocate the PBX operator, and then I would lose that position
we don't know.
that she's in right now.
Why would you lose it if you haven't?
I don't know, that's what I was told.
Yeah, it's still in the budget now.
Right, it's still in the budget
Like
now.
Mr. Black said, if we
It's
go to the
funded for
first of the
19.
year,
Yeah.
we amended that, could stay there, and that job could be transferred to the courthouse position.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
Rather than authorization of additional funding, since it's already in place.
Okay,
The problem going to be to fund her position under that program that she's under.
okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Because my absence will be noted at the next meeting, Mr. Black, first of the year, I would recommend, just as you recommended, that it be considered that her position be reinstituted.
Yeah, if she's not working in buildings, and she needs to be back at PBX, and that's where they need her. And
Absolutely.
that's what, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, the machine is open. Oh, wait. We'll hit it again. Is he now? His isn't blinking.
Conspiracy around here.
Benny and Kirk.
Hold tight, hold one more time, hold it. Nobody hit that. You didn't say.
Legislation passes 9-0. Next item, please.
Here you go. Yeah, I'll give it, yeah, I got it.
He got
That's the engineering one. So this is number 20, right?
yes.
I guess I could make an announcement. or two. Yeah, they can't say nothing after we adjourn. No. We don't have Right, right.
That one is,
Changing the draftsperson from full-time to part-time.
that's to change this draftsperson from full-time to part-time, because it saves us some money.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, this is a status change. One draftsperson, changing them from full-time to part-time to save $19,940. Offered by Mr. Bartholomew. Seconded by Mr. Juneau. Questions or comments? Oh, you called the question? Okay. The legislation has been called to question by Mr. Bartholomew. Machine is open.
There you go.
This legislation passes 9-0. You're gonna have a guard at the boat harbor, but no harbor master. Okay. This next item is to fund one guard position proposed to unfund in the 2019 budget book, but the position was filled after the budget books were printed. Position 563-271101 for the Buras Boat Harbor. I'll offer. Seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. It's $37,420.
What are we doing, funding that position?
Yes.
But you don't have it.
They hired him after the books was printed.
Oh, okay, all right. So it's in the budget, though?
We're putting it in the budget because they were hired. It wasn't included originally because it was in the process of being hired.
Okay, all right. You don't have it.
Right, correct.
That's what we hire people when in that budget.
No, it was in 18. It was budgeted and approved. At the last budget hearings, we put these in, and they just got hired. That's correct, huh, Tommy? Rochelle, yeah.
He's on payroll.
Yes,
All right, you ready?
yes.
Go with it.
Call the question on
Question.
this item. Machine is open. This amendment passes 9-0. Where's this coming from, this grant? This next item is a grant. Oh, this is for the 4-H, right?
Right.
The 50,000?
Programs.
Community programs, care center.
Care Center, okay.
Offer.
This next item is legislation to allocate $50,000 for community programs, the Care Center, offered by Mr. Bartholomew, seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Oh, call to question. The item's been called to question. Machine is open.
Am I not?
This legislation passes 9-0.
Yep.
23.
Yep. Yeah. You need to tell them that. We forgot.
This next legislation is for the firefighting fund. It's kind of the same as the last one for a lieutenant that was proposed unfunded in the 19 book, but the position was filled after the budget books were presented. Yeah.
I wanted to let y'all know, I didn't tell y'all this because we're going so fast. But firefighting fund, this year, in this book, there's a transfer from the general fund to the firefighting fund for $1 million. So this is the first year we ever had to do that, because they didn't have enough money to operate the firefighting fund. So we had to transfer them money from the general fund. So that's part of your problem in the general fund, why you, while you're short. I just want to let y'all know that. I didn't get, We know, yeah, and I did tell you I had problems. I just wanted to let you know that there is a transfer from the general fund to the firefighting fund for the first year of $1 million. I just want to let y'all know that.
1.5 or something.
Okay, thank you for that information. Anyone wants to offer this motion?
Offer.
Offered by Mr. Bartholomew, seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. This amendment. Questions or comments? Hearing none, the machine is open. Yep. Legislation passes 8-1 with the no vote from Mr. Bartholomew.
We'll get there, we're gonna have to wait a minute, when we get there.
Sorry. Thanks. This next amendment is for the Plaquemines Parish Council District 6 Department, group health insurance. Increased group health insurance for District 6 council member, $15,770. Offered by Mr. Burt, seconded by Ms. Salvant. Question has been called. Machine is open. Legislation passes 9-0. Yes. Mm-hmm. Thanks. This is yours. I'll show you. This next amendment is to allocate $50,000 for the LSU Ag Center in regards to the 4-H. Mr. Juneau offers this, seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. Questions or comments? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 9-0.
If I know how to count, yeah.
One more after this. Well, we got to create it first. Here you go.
No, it was supposed to be 2.
I'll ask.
Oh, 200,000. Can y'all just make that a 0?
Oh, it says 20? Oh,
It says 250.
oh, 250. Okay.
This next amendment is to allocate $200,000 for the YMCA. No, it's 200. It's a misprint. $200,000. I'll offer. Seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. This is for the YMCA, the Plaquemines Partnership YMCA's.
So correction is 200.
200,000. Yes, sir. Questions or comments? Hearing none, the machine is open.
Good.
Verbal yes. Verbal yes. Legislation passes 9-0.
Okay, that's all the amendments we have as far as to getting us where we need to be. We're right now at a negative $3,919,374. Now, we have to do one or two more amendments, depending on how you want to do this. We're going to have to take 2.1 million, I know, out of emergencies, y'all said, and then 2.1 million out of bond indebtedness. Do you want to do them on separate amendments, or do you want them to do them together? Separate? Okay.
Separate?
Yeah, separate. So give us 1 second. We'll
What's the designation number for,
I don't know. Just don't worry about it. Just right, put that's description though. You got that on there? Put the name. Emergencies first. Print that one out. We'll do that one when you're doing auto. We don't think we need to put a reserve in that because it's going to go down.
I don't think we did that.
This next amendment is proposing to take 2.1 million out of the emergency fund. Offered by Mr. Bartholomew, seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. There's no question. Mr. Bartholomew calls the question.
Okay, the other one's bond and dead, Ms. Holmes? Huh?
Yes.
2.1 million.
Yes.
Let me check your machines out. This legislation passes 9-0.
That's it, and we can, that's all we have.
Unless y'all have anything else to discuss?
You go.
This next amendment is taking $2.1 million out of bond indebtedness. Offered by Mr. Bartholomew. Seconded by Mr. Black. Mr. Russo has a question. Comment.
Just a comment that this is one amendment that I am philosophically opposed to, taking funding out of the bond indebtedness because of the possibility of jeopardizing our credit rating. So I'll have to vote against this particular amendment.
Mr. Bartholomew calls the question on this legislation. This amendment. Legislation passes 7-2. And this wraps up our 2019 budget hearings. Right? You have something to say, Tommy?
No, that should pretty much be it. I mean, that'll get us to, that'll give us almost $300,000 in unreserved and designated to go into 2019. I just ask that you have one more council meeting, that you're trying to take any money out of unreserved undesignated, because it will affect the 2019 unreserved undesignated balance. Anything you do in at this last meeting. So, but that's where we'll stand.
Okay. For those in the audience that are here from the various departments, we did not make any amendments to the budget as proposed, other than we removed the vacancies. So I just wanted to give y'all a heads up on that. Mr. Black, you have something to say?
Yeah, just to continue what they said, since we have a lot of department heads here, although you may be somewhat frustrated that some of the vacancies were removed and you would not be getting personnel immediately, no jobs were cut, which is one of our main things. And, we had to use some BP funds and some emergency funds to balance this budget, but I'm proud to say, and I thank my colleagues on the council, that all jobs were saved and no jobs were cut.
Mr. Russo?
My only comment is that we have Port budget hearing tomorrow, and this budget is balanced on the amount of money that we have budgeted as intergovernmental transfer from the Port of $861,459.64. Is that correct?
$8 million. I mean,
800.
I'll take the $8 million. No, I'm sorry.
Can we get
I
that
got million on my mind. 861,000. Correct. You're correct. That's correct. 861,000.
Okay. Long as we're on the same page, make sure that they have that in their budget.
That's right. I mean, if you're going to put it in our budget as a revenue, then it needs to have an expense in it.
Okay. Oh. Yes, sir.
And my only comment is, as we discussed earlier previously, that this budget is cutting the port a break, because this budget subsidizes the harbors and terminal districts that should be paid for by the Port, Harbor, and Terminal District. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the table? Okay, our budget hearings are ending at 2:36 p.m. Thank you.
But we will be reconvening.